Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tony. The channel is Tony Talks Cards. I hope you're having a great week so far. This is going to be episode 4 of my continuation of my 1971 Topps action shots, action poses deep dive. So I've done 3 videos so far that have covered a various group of players, some Hall of Famers, some not, some with interesting personal stories, some with interesting careers, and some with very short careers, and some with fairly long Major League Baseball careers. And these are all guys I didn't know much about, and I've loved diving into this series. So I've tried to group the players in this 52 card subset within 1971 Topps in certain relatable areas. A couple of videos ago, it was players, there were 2 players or more than 1 player on each card, and talk about who I was seeing on the background, the foreground of the card. Others were based on just a random smattering of different types of poses. And others, like the last one, was based on a bunch of Yankees and Mets that came out on July 4th or near July 4th. So this episode is going to be just about catchers. So I've talked about one catcher already in my first episode, Thurman Munson. And I thought, well, he's probably worth putting in another episode just for the heck of it. You know, great career, great Yankee. But I've got other catchers that haven't been talked about yet and found some interesting things about them, you know, their careers after baseball, during baseball. And it's funny, as I've done this research on Baseball Reference or Wikipedia or other baseball references, historical sites, I found commonalities in a lot of these players I didn't know existed. Like they were on the same team for a year, or in this example, 2 of the players actually got traded from their team for somebody else we're going to talk about, and are involved in trades that involved other people I will be or have talked about on this episode series so far. So very cool, the not even 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like the 1 or 2 degrees some of these guys would have without seemingly knowing about that on the surface. So talking about catchers, talking about 1971 Topps, the beautiful action shots, action poses some of these guys had. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy it. I will turn the camera around so we can actually show some cards off and talk about these guys and their careers in 1970 and beyond and prior to. So hang with me here. I'll be back in 1 second. All right, we're back. Let's talk about these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different catchers from 1971 Topps. The first one's going to be Mr. Ed Kirkpatrick with the Royals. He played 16 years in the majors from 1962 to 1977 and played with 5 teams. He wasn't an everyday starter during the majority of his career, but he played most often and consistently in the early 70s with the Kansas City Royals. He had a fairly low batting average at .238 over his 16 years in the majors. He had 2 double-digit home run years in 1969 and 1970, and of course the 70 stats are shown on the back of this card. His highest average was in 1972, where he hit .275. Originally, he signed with the Angels at age 17 and began his career in 1962 with the Los Angeles Angels, and that was the LA Angels' first year as the Angels, I believe. Each year, a city in California, Glendora, California, presents annually an award called the Ed Kirkpatrick Award for a citizen who did the most for local youth in the past year. He was in an unfortunate auto accident in 1981 that left him, unfortunately, partially paralyzed for the rest of his life, and he died in 2010. So that's Mr. Ed Kirkpatrick with a cool, again, subject of the series here, action pose, swinging away there. So number 2 is Frank Fernandez, shown with the Athletics. Again, a catcher, of course. He played from 1967 to 1972, first with the Yankees, and the A's also, and then a bit with the Cubs and Senators, and shown here, of course, with the A's. He only played in less than 100 games over 2 years with the A's, though. His highest output year was 1970 again. Those are the stats on the back of the card, with 15 home runs and 44 RBI, though he only hit .214. And for his career was only at about 199 as a hitter. In 1968 and 1969, he backed up Jake Gibbs, who will be talked about also here in this episode a little bit later too. Once Thurman Munson came up to the major leagues with the Yankees, Frank was traded to the A's, and one other player part of that trade was Danny Cater, who we also talked about in an earlier episode. So lots of connection points between the Yankees and Munson and catchers and prior folks in this series too. So that is Frank Fernandez. Love the bright colors in that uniform. And again, there's the back of the card. A nice picture of him there with his 15 home runs in that year. Number 3, with a mighty swing, is Andy Etchebarren, shown with the Baltimore Orioles. He played 15 years from the early 60s to 1978. Played mostly with the Orioles, but was then also with the Angels and then Brewers too. He wasn't an everyday player and only topped 100-plus games played twice with Baltimore in the early 60s. And he had his biggest output year in 1966 with 11 home runs, 50 RBI, but only a .221 batting average. He batted .235 over his career. With Baltimore, he did win 4 AL pennants and 2 World Series championships. So not a bad haul right there with trophies and accolades. He was also a 2-time All-Star. He became a minor league coach after retiring from the majors. There's also a story which I didn't fully research all the depths of, but it looks like in 1966 he is credited with saving Frank Robinson from drowning in a pool in 1966 because Frank, I guess, couldn't swim. And 66 was Frank Robinson's Triple Crown year in the American League. So that was noted on one of the sites I looked at. So I'm sure others in the comments could say whether that was true or not, or it's a well-known story I just hadn't heard myself before. So there is Andy Etchebarren, again, taking a big, strong swing in his Orioles uniform. Number 4 is Jake Gibbs, shown with the New York Yankees. Again, at bat, about ready to take a long, hard swing here at Yankee Stadium. He played from 62 to 71 and all with the Yankees. He was a platoon catcher, primarily a backup catcher for Elston Howard, and then was around when Thurman Munson joined the Yankees too. He was a .233 batter over his career and played mostly in 1967 and 68 as a catcher. Played most games in those 2 years. Thurman Munson came up several years later. Not a significant amount of home runs or RBI output, but 1970, again, same story, stats on the back of this card. Despite only playing in 49 games, he did bat .301, much higher than any other year in his career. So maybe that's why Topps chose to give him a card. Who knows this year. Before baseball, he did play football at Ole Miss. He also played baseball there too, so a multi-sport athlete. He was drafted by the Houston Oilers of the American Football League and Cleveland Browns of the NFL in 1961, so pretty crazy athletic there too to have football and baseball folks chasing after you. After 1971, he returned to Ole Miss as a full-time baseball coach and football recruiter and coached Ole Miss during the 1970s. So really cool early story about him with football and baseball, and then an interesting late post-career story too. Okay, number 5, the fifth unique person on this episode. I don't know if you say Jerry Grote or Grote. Again, I'm sure others who watched baseball in this year could correct me on that. But Mr. Jerry here was showing with the New York Mets, a catcher hustling towards first base, it appears. He played it from 1963 to 1981 and primarily with the New York Mets. He played with the Mets from 66 to 77. And of course, was part of the Miracle Mets team of 1969. In 68 and 75, he hit near 300 overall, but for his career, he was a .252 hitter. He was an All-Star in 1968 and 1974. Of course, with the Mets, he was able to catch a young Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver, and Jerry Koosman, so not too bad there. He was considered one of the best defensive catchers of his time and was inducted into the New York Mets Hall of Fame in 1992. And I believe, based on the research I did, based on Baseball Reference, Wikipedia, some other sites, at the time, at least, of reading these articles, he was the Mets' all-time leading catcher in terms of games played. So, there you go. Look at that. I love the action poses. You got him hustling, head down towards first. You've got, looks like a St. Louis Cardinal player again in the dugout. Just a ton of action, ton of stuff to focus on and wonder what was happening in this game. So, And last but not least, we showed this individual earlier, but again, if we talk about 5 catchers, we got to talk about the 6th in this action series. Action poses Mr. Thurman Munson with his Topps All-Star Rookie Trophy in the corner. As noted above, Thurman Munson played his life and career intersected with 2 of the players above, both Jake Gibbs and Frank Fernandez, at least based on my research. So kind of a cool connection to have him be with the other catchers in this series. We've talked about Jake Gibbs and Frank Fernandez. So very cool tie-in to him. And again, can't go without noticing just the crazy, really awesome action shot there. The dust being kicked up by the Oakland A's runner sliding into home. Munson, again, catcher gear, face mask off, hat turned backwards, trying to make the tag. So excellent card. Second year card, first solo card, although of Mr. Munson, although arguably it's him on the card in name, but he does have somebody else in the picture too. So very, very cool there. Love the card. Love the horizontal type of cards too. I like the 60 Topps, 56 Topps baseball. Horizontal just has a special meaning and appreciation for me there. So that's it. Those are my 5+1 catchers for 1971 Topps action poses. Coming up next, I've sorted through the players left remaining, and I think I've got a couple different ways to sort them. There are some folks who later became major league managers in the set, so I may combine those together. And there's also a bunch of Royals, Kansas City Royals and Angels players that were represented more than other teams. I think the Mets and Yankees were number 1 and number 2, and the Royals and Angels are like 3 and 4. So it must be with the stadium, where they played, where the photographer was, I'm not sure, but we'll do those 2 groupings of players in the next 2 videos. And thank you all for watching along. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with some more later. All right, take care.